Hello humanoids, welcome to Halfling Hobbies. I'm Halfling Hannah, and welcome to your quick guide to creating crime syndicates in D&D. Last time we talked about drug syndicates, this time we're talking about gambling syndicates. So, here we go. If you are looking for a dark and more realistic world for your D&D campaign, adding in some crime syndicates is an excellent way to do that. If you want to look at drug syndicates, that was our latest video. I've got a playlist that's going to include all 5 of these syndicates that we're looking to create. But basically, I'm going to give you a guide to creating 5 different crime syndicates for a fantasy D&D world. If you like this idea but don't necessarily want to go through all the work to do it, I did it myself in my NPCs for RPGs, Crime Bosses, and Syndicates. Welcome to Ignosi. You're welcome to purchase this. In fact, I would highly encourage it because it supports Halfling Hobbies directly. So you'll get 5 crime bosses, all of their underlings, and how to use them in your world in that ebook. Or if you join Patreon at the Halfling Heroes tier, you get that included along with all of the other NPCs for RPGs, including this beauty. That's taverns and shopkeepers, which is always useful. I mean, you're always going to use that. So you get 25 of those, which is pretty darn good. So check those out over at halflinghobbies.com. All right, so let's get into gambling syndicates. How do you create a gambling syndicate in your world? Step number 1, I like to start with the boss. Who is the one who's going to be in charge of all of this? In my case, I created Ricky the Devil Costello. I based all of my 5 families off of the 5 families of New York, like the mafia families in New York. And it's super fun. The history there is super fun, but Ricky is based directly off of one of those. But because it's a fantasy world, we can do some really fun stuff with your boss. In the case of Ricky, he is a devil who works for Mammon, who is the devil that is over wealth and greed, which makes perfect sense for a gambling syndicate. Ricky broke off from Mammon and is kind of doing his own thing, but he's still collecting souls and collecting money, which is absolutely perfect here for the gambling. So come up with your boss. What is their reason? What is their desire? Perhaps it's to collect enough money to become a lich, and this is an excellent way to do that. Perhaps it is a hag who is looking to collect misery and sow misery throughout the land, and making people poor is a great way to do that. However you want to do it, come up with a really cool boss who is in charge of all of these, and that will kind of flavor how you set up everything else, how you want everything else to go. Next step is location. Location, location, location. You want these casinos set up around the people who are going to be using them most. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that's going to be the poverty community in wherever it is these are. Cities are a great place for them. In Ignosi, which is my city that these 5 families run, all of Ricky's, what are called Devil's Pits, are located around the docks and on the riverfront, which is where the poorest people live. These are the slums. And they are, in fact, illegal, though Ricky pays off the guards to look the other way. These are secret pits that are located in the basements of taverns, and you have to know a secret word in order to get in. So decide where you're going to put these up and if they're legal or illegal. Because if they're legal, then you can advertise them. They can be a big deal. If they're illegal, you're going to want to have some kind of secret code or secret password or, secret location to get to them. Next up, one of my favorite parts of this was creating games. This doesn't just have to be card games, though that can be a part of it if you want. This can be something more interactive, especially for D&D if your players want to participate in these games. And you can have these games set up throughout the city, people copying them, things of that nature. So I created 3 games for my world that you're welcome to use. The first I call 9 Hells Fire, and this is based on illusion magic. So the dealer creates 9 flames, 8 of them are illusionary, 1 of them is real. Then they mix them around kind of like 3-card Monty, and they eliminate 6 flames, meaning there are only 3 left. The player then has to stick their hand into 2 of the flames, hoping that it's the 2 illusionary ones. If the player chooses correctly and chooses the illusionary flames, they disappear and they win. However, if they choose poorly and they stick their hand into the real flame, it does damage to them and they lose the game. This is a really fun kind of game that plays into the magic of the world. Another one that's a little more brutish, a little more physical, is called Odds or Evens. Basically, the player puts their money down, turns their back, and gives them the dealer an arm or whatever exposed skin that they want, and the dealer makes cuts in very quick succession, and the player has to decide, was this an odd number of cuts or an even number of cuts? If they are correct, they win. If they are not, they lose. Rough game. Very popular among thugs and rogues and thieves and people of that nature. And then the last one is a special game. This is only played at Ricky's table and only played using soul coins, which are the actual souls of people that Ricky has collected. This game is called The Devil's Hand, and it is a deck of cards, basically kind of like tarot cards. Almost said terracotta. That's different. That's a pot. Tarot cards. And it's missing the death card in each one of the decks. And basically the player has to bet on which card they are going to draw. If they draw Mammon, they immediately lose. And if the dealer draws Death, everyone loses. And this is a really fun game because if you win this game, you win a wish. If you lose your soul. Talk about a high stakes game. So come up with some games that would be played at your casino. If you come up with any that are like this, something that's creative and fun, that's not a card game, maybe something that focuses more on magic or any of those fantasy elements, please put those in the comments down below to give us all some ideas of what games we can run in our casinos. Finally, if you're looking at creating a gambling syndicate, there's one rule that stands above all others, and that is the house always wins. So look at some ways to give your house advantage. This could be magic, illusions, this could be NPCs that are exceptionally charming. This could be a wide variety of things, but whatever it is, it needs to tilt the advantage towards the house in some way. And you need to have people in charge of making sure that no clever little wizards are sneaking in and using detect magic to cheat at 9 Hells Fire. These pit bosses would not particularly be kind to anyone looking to take advantage of the house because the house always wins. So come up with some of these NPCs and some ways to give your casino advantage. Couple of bonus things in here that pair really, really well with a gambling syndicate would be a loan shark syndicate. In my world, Ricky also runs all of the loan shark racketeering. Now, if you never heard of a loan shark, it's basically someone who lends out money at extremely high interest rates. I'm talking anywhere from 150% all the way to 3,000% interest. And these loans have very particular payback contracts, which, fits really well for a devil. Very confident and very comfortable with making contracts. And if they pay back the money at this high percentage rate, great, he gets money. If they don't, then Ricky gets their soul. It's a win-win for Ricky. The reason why loan sharking works so well combined with gambling syndicates is because when people are down on their luck and they are convinced that just one more hand they can win it all back, they are very susceptible to these types of loans. They don't really care how high the percentage rate is, and they don't really care what the payback contract is because they're convinced that they are going to win on the next hand. And so this lends itself really well to loan sharking. You can have loan sharks in the casino themselves as well as going around to the various businesses. I also include with this protection rackets, specifically for those businesses in these poverty areas. You have thugs that will go in and break things, steal things from merchants, just cause general terror unless the merchants pay a protection fee to them. Again, this pairs really well with loan sharking because they can steal a bunch of merchandise from the merchant and then come in and offer them a loan to purchase more materials to keep their shop afloat. All three of these work really, really well together, and in my world of Ignosi, Ricky runs all three of these financial syndicates. And then finally, for all of these, whether it is a loan gone bad, someone who won't pay their protection fee, or someone who's caught cheating, or just in general is losing real bad at the casinos, you need to have in place punishments. These are going to be your thugs, your NPCs, your thumb breakers who go and enforce the rules of the syndicate and make sure that the syndicate gets paid. This is extremely important part of this, and though these are just brutes who aren't really thinking through anything, these are likely where your players are going to run into the syndicate for the first time. Perhaps they see a much beloved NPC at their shop getting worked over by one of these thugs because they didn't pay their protection fee. Or someone comes to them begging them for help because Ricky's going to collect their soul if they don't pay up. There's lots of options here to introduce your party to the syndicate through these kind of bruisers or thugs. And you can also even make some of them lovable if you want. Or maybe one of your PCs, that was their job, is they were a bruiser for this syndicate, and maybe they tried to leave that life, but they still have connections to it. There's lots of options there when you include these kinds of syndicates in your campaign, and I highly suggest you do so. They add a lot of flavor to your world. Well, I certainly hope that gave you some ideas and helps you out a little bit, and until next time, my friends, may your game have advantage. It's Halfling Hannah here, signing out. Big thank you to all my incredible patrons at the Halfling Heroes tier. You really are heroes. I'm super excited to play some more one-shots with you guys. If you want to get in and play some one-shots on Discord, make sure that you join Patreon. Another thank you, of course, to our ongoing partners, The Wanderer's Guide and Woodworks Gaming. Bye! Hello humanoids, welcome to Halfling Hobbies. I'm Halfling Hannah, and welcome to your quick guide,